Welcome to the 21st Sports Recap and Reaction for the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Kansas City Chiefs in their Week 7 matchup, played October 25th, 2015. We're going to go over the scores and the stats and give our breakdown and analysis. So starting off in the first quarter, with about 9 minutes still left in the first, Cairo Santos hit a 30-yard field goal for the Chiefs, and it was 3-0 Kansas City over Pittsburgh. The Steelers would respond with a field goal of their own with about a minute left in the first, as Chris Boswell hit a 24-yarder, and this game was tied up at 3 apiece. So that was the score after one quarter of play. And now in the second quarter, with about 9 minutes left before halftime, Cairo Santos hits a second field goal of the game, this one from 22 yards out, and it was 6-3, KC back in the lead by 3 over the Steelers. So now with a minute left before halftime, Cairo Santos would hit his third field goal of the game, this one from 27 yards out, and it was now a 6-point lead for the Chiefs with the score 9-3 KC over Pittsburgh. So that was the score heading into the locker rooms at halftime. And in the second half, in the third quarter, with about 4.5 minutes still left in the third, Charcandrick West scores his first touchdown of his career, a 1-yard run, and with the extra point by Santos, it was 16-3, with the Chiefs in the lead by 13, as they were extending their lead with the first touchdown of this game by either team. Well, the Steelers came right back and scored a touchdown with about a little less than 2 minutes left in the third, as Landry Jones hit Martavis Bryant for a 19-yard touchdown. Boswell added the extra point, and it was back to a 6-point game with the score Kansas City 16, Pittsburgh 10. So that was the score after 3 quarters. And now in the fourth, with a little over 10 minutes still left to play, Chris Boswell hit a 36-yard field goal, and it was now a 3-point game with the score Chiefs 16, Steelers 13. Then, responding from that score, Alex Smith drove the Chiefs 84 yards in 8 plays, eating up a little over 5 minutes of game clock, capped off by a 6-yard touchdown pass to Chris Conley. Santos added the extra point, and it was now 23-13 as the Chiefs were in the lead by 10 once again. So now the Steelers would get the ball, and they brought it into Kansas City territory, but on 1st and 10 from the KC 39, Landry Jones was sacked by Tamba Hali, and Howard recovers the fumble, as the fumble was forced and recovered by the Chiefs. And now they would have the ball, and all they had to do was run out the clock with a few running plays by Charcandrick West, who brought the game to the 2-minute warning. And once the Steelers burned their final timeout, one more run by West, and then 2 knees by Alex Smith in the victory formation, and the Kansas City Chiefs break their 5-game losing streak, as they now are at 2-5 with the victory. They're 1-2 at home as they win their first game at Arrowhead this season, a place where they usually are really tough to beat. And Eric Berry got his first interception since beating cancer, as he came up with a big pick in this game. And Charcandrick West, of course, coming up big as well, replacing the injured Jamal Charles last week. He had a fumble. This week he gets a touchdown, and it was the first offensive touchdown of the game, the only offensive touchdown of the game for Kansas City. Of course, the Steelers would respond with the touchdown, but they would not be able to get too much going, as Landry Jones had 3 turnovers in this game, 2 interceptions and a fumble, as the Steelers, with the loss, are now 4-3. They're 2-2 on the road. And of course, at 4-3, they trail the Bengals, who are undefeated, and they have a bye week this week. They are still sitting at 6-0, and Pittsburgh is still in second place in the AFC North. And of course, the Chiefs are in third place in the West, even with the loss by Oakland. Actually, Oakland won that game, what am I saying? So, and that would be a later game, but Oakland would beat San Diego, as Oakland's actually 3-3, and the Chargers are 2-5, tied with Kansas City in third place there in the West. And of course, Denver is also 6-0, as both of these teams have a team in their division at 6-0. So there's actually 4 teams at 6-0. 3 of these teams, though, had bye weeks. But here in this game, the Chiefs get the win against the banged-up Steelers team that, of course, was without their quarterback, as they were on their third string quarterback. He did look good, last week in relief, but here in this game, as he gets to start, he has the 3 turnovers, and that was too much for the Steelers to be able to make up for, even though Le'Veon Bell had a pretty good game on the ground. But let's look at the stats. Alex Smith, 21 for 32, 251 passing yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. He also had 3 carries for 5 yards. Landry Jones, 16 for 29, 209 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. He also had that fumble as well. And on the ground, Le'Veon Bell was the game's leading rusher with 17 carries for 121 yards. He also had 4 receptions for 16 yards, which gave him 137 total yards on the game. Charcandrick West, 22 carries for 110 yards and a touchdown for the Chiefs. He also had 2 receptions for 19 yards, which gave him 129 total yards on the game. And through the air, Antonio Brown, 6 receptions for 124 yards. Martavis Bryant, 3 receptions for 45 yards, including the touchdown. And for the Chiefs, Travis Kelce, 5 receptions for 73 yards. Wilson, 3 receptions for 71 yards. Conley, 6 receptions for 63 yards, including the touchdown. We look at the kickers. Boswell, 2 for 2 on the field goals, 1 for 1 on the extra points. Cairo Santos, 3 for 4 on the field goals, 2 for 2 on the extra points. He did miss the one. And he had been 7 for 7 a few weeks back, but since then he's been missing some kicks, but he made enough. And those 3 kicks did come in big as they won by 10, and he accounted for 9 points just off the field goals, another 2 points on the extra points. So you could say Cairo Santos was the difference in this game, as he is probably one of the key components, for the Chiefs. I mean, at least scoring-wise, the guy puts up most of their points as they struggle to get into the end zone. But on defense, Tamba Hali, 2 sacks, including that forced fumble that really sealed the victory for the Chiefs. As I said earlier, Eric Berry with that interception, and then Johnson also had an interception as well. And for the Steelers, Timmons had a half a sack, so did Shazier, the rookie from Ohio State, and then Hayward had a sack as well. And we look at the team stats. Both teams had 18 first downs. We look at third downs, and the Chiefs, 9 of 16 on third down. They came up big on the most important down there, and they were 56% on their conversion rate. The Steelers, just 2 for 10, only 20% conversion rate on third downs as they struggled. And on fourth down, they went for it twice. They made it once. That was 50%. We look at net yards in this game. 377 for the Chiefs, 339 for the Steelers. Net rushing, 147 for Pittsburgh, 138 for Kansas City. Net passing yards, 239 for the Chiefs. Smith sacked twice for a total of 12 yards lost. 192 net passing yards for Pittsburgh, as Jones was sacked twice for a net loss of 17 yards. Then we look at the penalties. Almost no penalties, as there was only 7 total penalties in this game. 6 against the Chiefs for 66 yards. The Steelers just 1 penalty for 5 yards. I almost would think that was a typo, but the Steelers lost 1 fumble. Of course, that was Jones. Part of his 3 turnovers is he had the 2 picks and the 1 fumble. Is his turnovers really were the difference in this game, as he was playing like the third string quarterback that he is. And we look at the red zone, 2 for 5 for the Chiefs, 40% in the red zone, 1 for 3 for Pittsburgh, just 33%. So both teams were struggling in the red zone, as we saw a lot of field goals. We saw 5 field goals instead of touchdowns, as we got 3 field goals out of the Chiefs, 2 field goals from the Steelers. And the time of possession, 32 minutes and 26 seconds for Kansas City, 27 minutes and 34 seconds for Pittsburgh. So Kansas City playing the way you would expect to see Kansas City. Of course, how you thought they'd play coming into the season. But the last 5 games, they've been just playing horrendous. Of course, they didn't lose some key players, but they bounced back here in this game. A big performance by Charcandrick West, and especially by their defense. Their defense forcing those 3 turnovers. And Landry Jones, third-string quarterback, like I said, playing like a third-string quarterback, not really getting the job done. Even though Le'Veon Bell had a pretty good game and Antonio Brown, those guys are always going to get their numbers. They're always going to put up a good performance. But really, that was it for Pittsburgh, as they could not capitalize. And of course, they left some points on the field, as they were just 1 for 3 in the red zone. Kansas City continued to struggle in the red zone as well, as that is a big issue for the Chiefs regardless. But they do get the win here. And the Steelers, the way I look at it with Pittsburgh, in the loss, of Roethlisberger in those games now that they've been playing without him, for them to still be, winning games, even though they lost this game, but they're 4-3, well, they're doing pretty good, because they're going to get him back eventually, and when he comes back, the fact that they're, not having to climb out of too deep of a hole, they've still got more than a good chance at making the playoffs. They've got a pretty good team. I didn't really think it was a bad performance per se. It was just a matter of, they don't have Roethlisberger, and that puts them in a really precarious position where they're having to lean on just their skill players, and there just wasn't enough. And when Jones, it's not like they needed him to win the game. They needed him to just not lose the game, but that's what he did. He played bad enough for them to lose, not just good enough for them to win. Is, with those 2 interceptions and the fumble, when you turn the ball over 3 times, you're putting your team in a rough spot. And in, a hostile environment like Kansas City, even though it's their first win in Arrowhead this year, it's still, it's a tough environment to go in. They get really loud regardless of their record. Those fans are very loyal. They make a lot of noise. And for, a quarterback that doesn't really have much experience starting in the NFL, it's a tough place to have to go into and try to, get something done. And that's part of why you saw him having those troubles and those struggles against the Kansas City defense that's actually a lot better than they've been playing this year. And they actually did get a couple of pickoffs, even though this year they've been letting off some big performances to receivers on opposing teams. But they still do have, those pass rushers up front. They are pretty tough. And they got a couple of picks, like I said. And when their secondary is able to cause turnovers instead of letting up touchdowns, and they did let up the 1 touchdown through the air, but that was it. So they did a pretty good job. But let me know what you think in the comments section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. It's greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and had a great weekend and enjoyed all the sports.